Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Government working to evacuate students in Ukraine, says Prime Minister. The government is pursuing all avenues to safely evacuate Jamaican students residing in Ukraine, says Prime Minister Andrew Holness. This follows Russia's military invasion into the neighboring country on Thursday. In my latest information, there are 27 students remaining in Ukraine. 15 have already left the country, Holness noted, while addressing the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Stony Hill police station in St. Andrew on Thursday, February 24. He said that the only priority at this time is to get our students home. We will be using all our efforts, all our channels, all our connections and friends to ensure that we can safely get our students home if they so choose to come, because that is always available in the equation. The personal choices that free people make, he pointed out. Holness said that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade will maintain contact with the remaining students in Ukraine while collaborating with neighboring countries for assistance with evacuation efforts. Please know that the ministry, as we speak, is trying to figure out how we can make some connections with friendly countries to assist. Our understanding is that the airspace is closed, and the advice would be to stay in place and to be as safe as you possibly can, given the circumstances, he said. Holness urged the students to keep in contact with the Jamaican Embassy of Berlin and their families, and to stay updated with accurate information services. So we pray for the students who are there. We pray for the people of Ukraine that this conflict will end and that there will be no more unnecessary loss of lives, he said. Meanwhile, Holness noted that Jamaica had to deal with a similar situation during 2014 Ukraine crisis, when Russia annexed the region against discriminate. He said that at this time, the Jamaican students were offered loans to assist them in evacuating the country. It is not a usual procedure. This is how most governments operate. They give the facility for their citizens to be able to get air tickets and travel plan right away, and then on their return, a program is worked out for repayment, he pointed out. Holness said that at the time, the repayment of the loans was not pursued. The safety of our students should be highest priority at this time, says Morris. Opposition spokesperson on youth and sports, Senator Gabriela Morris, is expressing great disappointment with what she describes as the government accurate response to the plight of the Jamaican students in Ukraine. The senator is urging the government to utilize its diplomatic ties to ensure that the students are evacuated and brought to safety, even belatedly. She said this practice of leaving our citizens stranded when they face crisis overseas has become a routine for this government. We recall the fishermen left stranded in a U.S. immigration facility in 2020, as well as the Jamaican cruise ship workers left to lavish at sea also in 2020. While other countries went in aid of their citizens, the Minister of Foreign Affairs must try to redeem themselves by ensuring our students are brought to us safely. Morris added that the Jamaican government could have done more to get the students to safety. The safety of our students should be our highest priority at this time. Other countries are doing right by their citizens, while the Jamaican government chooses to pinch pennies in this life and death situation, said the senator. She continued, these brave young people have chosen to leave their homeland and families in the hopes of obtaining higher education. Many of these students could not otherwise afford a tertiary education if not for the scholarships that they have been granted. Should they be punished by their country for being ambitious? Young people across Jamaica are taking note of the callous treatment of the government is meted out in our youths. The opposition spokesperson is hoping that the escalation of the situation in Ukraine will now prompt the ministry to consider the students' predicament and move swiftly to provide the aid needed to get them to safety by any means necessary. We cannot have any more blunders. Now is not the time to laissez-faire approach. We must explore all possible avenues to extract our students, she stressed. Morris also expressed sentiments of support to the students and their families. We stand in solidarity with you and will continue to impress upon the government to uphold its duty to protect its citizens at home and abroad, said Morris. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade condemns Russian invasion in Ukraine. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has strongly condemned the military action by Russia against Ukraine. In a statement yesterday, the ministry stated, "We are deeply concerned about the escalation of violence in Ukraine and condemn the clear violation of the United Nations Charter, particularly the obligation to respect the sovereign right and the territorial integrity of state. As members of the United Nations, we have all committed to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war that has often brought untold sorrow to mankind. The ongoing incursion in Ukraine are a violation of that sacred promise," the statement said, adding that Jamaica strongly urges Russia to cease all acts of aggression and to withdraw from Ukrainian territory. The ministry further stated, "We also call for a return of diplomatic channels to continue engagement with there as a bridge of common understanding that will lead to peace." The ministry also said Jamaica shares the hope that an escalation of war and further bloodshed can be avoided, and we join other peace-loving nations in calling a cessation of hostilities and for the immediate return to open dialogue, mutual understanding, and respect for the rights of sovereign nations. Military conflict has grave implications for us all and must end without further delay. Jamaican mother worried over daughter in Ukraine. A Jamaican woman whose 20-year-old daughter is studying in Ukraine is now concerned, having not heard from her child in over an hour. The woman told reporters that her daughter went to one of the underground bunkers with friends for safety. She has not been heard from since. The woman said she was on the phone with her daughter when the first explosions were heard. Ukrainian forces battled Russian invaders on 3 sides on Thursday after Moscow mounted an assault by land, sea and air in the biggest attack on an European state since World War II. After Russian president declared war in the pre-dawn television address, explosions and gunfires were heard throughout the morning in the city of 3 million people. Rastas upset after lack of permit cancels protest over Nsinga King ruling. The planned protest by members of the Rastafarian community in front of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on Thursday was cancelled because the organizers couldn't obtain the proper permit. The protest, which would have seen Rastafarians assemble at St. William Grand Park before marching to the ODPP in relation to its decision not to charge a police corporal alleged to have cut the hair of Nsinga King, failed to get underway even while scores of demonstrators gathered around the Kingston-era landmark early Thursday afternoon. Police refused to allow protesters to enter the park because of the absence of written approval from Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Chief organizer of the protest, attorney at law Michael Lorne, expressed anger at the situation, knowing that permission had already been received from the Office of the Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. "What more must we the people do? If we block road, you hear say we are hooligans. But when we write down everything that is in a treatment that we get," Lorne said. King had claimed that she was forcibly trimmed by a cop last year while in police custody in breaching of the Disaster Risk Management Act. In her ruling, DPP Paula Llewellyn said her office found that there were serious credibility issues in reviewing the complaint brought by King. According to the DPP, King contradicted her own accounts and account of witnesses, including people who were in the lockup at the time. However, the Rastafarians don't believe enough effort was made by the prosecutors to get the facts in the case. "This issue we do not agree with Indicom nor with the DPP because we do not think that the government spent sufficient money to get expert evidence, forensics evidence that could tell you whether her hair has been cut, whether her hair has been torn, or whether her hair has been dragged out," Lorne reported. He said Rastafarians had also planned to protest against the fact that there was no black representation among the statues at St. William Grant Park, and which he said was the continued harassment of Rastas found in the possession of ganja, despite the decriminalization of the substance in 2015. University scholarships for 4 inmates, 2 correctional officers. 4 inmates and 2 correctional officers are to benefit from scholarships to study for an associate degree in business administration at the University of the Commonwealth, Caribbean UCC, under a government and private sector partnership. A Memorandum of Understanding MOU to facilitate the award of 6 full scholarships were signed on Wednesday, February 23rd, by representatives from the Ministry of National Security, Department of Correctional Services (DCS), the UCC, and non-governmental organization NGO Stand Up for Jamaica. The scholarships will be offered to both male and female inmates and correctional officers at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center and South Camp Adult Correctional Center, Kingston. They will benefit from fully paid tuition, appropriate equipment, lab, books, materials, and student support services to facilitate online classes. State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Xavier Main, in his address at the virtual signing ceremony, said that the award of the 6 scholarships is a step in the right direction as the ministry and its stakeholders seek to provide more opportunities for learning in correctional facilities. He noted that the ministry and the DCS are committed to giving inmates hope for a better future and the opportunity to become better versions of themselves once they have served their times and are released back into the wider society. Commissioner of Corrections, Lieutenant Colonel Gary Rowe, said the DCS is dedicated to the higher education and rehabilitation of inmates in its care, as well as the welfare of the officers within its institution. He said that the award of the scholarships signifies that people in prisons are capable and that if the bar is set high, people can rise to the occasion. He noted that it also indicates that we are making strides as we implement measures to enhance the individual development of our inmates as they prepare for successful reintegration into society. The scholarship award is a continuation of a pilot initiative that commenced in January 2020 at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center, which saw full tuition being paid for 4 inmates and 1 correctional officer to pursue a 2-year associate degree in business administration. Man dies after being shot in leg by a cop car crash. A probe has been launched into the death of a man who was shot in the leg after he allegedly attacked a police officer who had confiscated a machete from his vehicle in the corporate area on Tuesday. The unidentified man was later found in his vehicle after he appeared to have been crushed in the vicinity of the Ferry police station in St. Catherine. The man, who is of dark brown complexion, slim built and about 6 feet tall, was clad in a pair of camouflage jean shorts and white t-shirt at the time of his death. Reports reaching reporters are that on Tuesday the lawman was driving his motor car along Spanish Town Road when he noticed that the driver of a Nissan motor car slapping another motorist with a machete. The officer reportedly approached the machete-wielding man, but the latter told the lawman several expletives and sped off in his vehicle. Further reports indicated that the police made another attempt to speak to the man during a stop at a gas station on Mandela Highway. The lawman reportedly urged the man to hand over the machete and he refused. But the officer was eventually able to seize the object from inside the driver's vehicle and urge him to drive to Hunt Bay police station. However, the motorist reportedly refused to comply and the cop drove off in his vehicle. According to reports, while the officer was driving on the roadway, the infuriated motorist drove down the vehicle, forcing the officer to stop. The enraged motorist reportedly then proceeded towards the officer with a knife, and despite several calls from the man to stop, including the firing of a warning shot from the lawman, the man failed to comply. The policeman then took evasive action and fired, hitting the man in his leg. According to reports, the wounded man subsequently ran to his vehicle and sped off from the scene. Shortly after, the police were alerted that a motor car, which matched that of the wounded man, crashed in a median in the vicinity of the Ferry police station. He was transported to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The matter has been reported to the Independent Commission of Investigations. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.